Since he's taken over as the Lions' starting quarterback, Casey Printers has been nothing short of spectacular.
Into the end zone! Touchdown!
But Printers had yet to lead the Lions to a win in 2009 until last week.
Casey Printers returns to Hamilton and finds the end zone.
Today, Printers looks to add to his comeback story as he leads the Lions into the East Final. Standing in his way, the CFL's Beast of the East.
There's Calvillo. Touchdown!
Anthony Calvillo and the Alouettes are looking to write their own story of redemption.
This game is over, and the Stamps are champs!
Last year's heartbreaking loss has been a catalyst for the Owls in 2009, which saw them win 15 times. Today, it's a chance for a comeback, a chance for redemption, and a chance to get to the Grey Cup. Lions, Alouettes, the East Division Final, next.
Thank you, Dwayne, and hello, Canada. 1 week to go in the CFL season in 2009. TSN, home of the Grey Cup. This week and then next week, the 97th Grey Cup in Calgary. Last time the Montreal Alouettes played here was a Grey Cup. Casey Printers, the mighty Casey, is back.
Well, he certainly seems like it. Casey Printers with his performance last week. His best since he has returned to the Lions lineup late in the season, 360 yards through the air. One of the guys looking to contain Casey Printers, the top defensive player in the East Division, Anwar Stewart. He leads that defensive line that'll try to keep Printers in the pocket, often with a four-man rush.
The Montreal Alouettes will kick off. The points leader, a record breaker this year, Damon Duvall, will kick this off. 50,000 plus at Olympic Stadium in Montreal. Eastern Final, Alouettes, Lions. Game on, winner moves on to the Grey Cup. Ryan Grice Mullen is back. He plows to the 31-yard line, where Casey Printers and the BC Lions will begin the 8-10 Lions. It's been done before. An 8-10 team has gone on to win the Grey Cup. Back in 2000, the BC Lions and Wally Buono's Calgary Stampeders in 01.
And many people are hooked on the fact that the Lions' hopes this year hinge on Casey Printers. Don't forget Martel Mallet, over 200 yards against Montreal back in September. Great receiving corps, particularly keep an eye on G. Simon. The group to be tested is the offensive line.
Emmanuel Arsenault, busy last week in Hamilton, drops the first pass intended for him today. Coverage from Chip Cox.
The Lions present multiple weapons that this Alouette defense is going to have to deal with. Key for the Owls is going to be this D-line, anchored by the ends. Bowman and Stewart combined for 21 sacks this season. Solid linebacking core. Chip Cox named a CFL All-Star this season. On the back end, we'll keep an eye on the matchups involving the Alouette first-year halfbacks, Billy Parker and Gerald Brown.
Second down and 10. Printers an audible through the din here. And Arsenault with the grab and the first down. Emmanuel Arsenault, everybody talked about the slots, about G. Simon, about Paris Jackson. And the forgotten guy this season often has been Emmanuel Arsenault. A great rookie campaign.
Yeah, and the question for a lot of this year was, how were the Lions going to replace Jason Claremont's production as the third triplet, so to speak, in that receiving corps? Emmanuel Arsenault has stepped up to become that guy. We really saw it last week when he had 120 yards in his first CFL playoff game against Hamilton.
His first carry. Gets hammered. Mallet loses his lid, but hangs on to the football. Speaking of great first seasons, how about the year that Martel Mallet had? He wasn't even on the radar screen in training camp for the BC Lions.
No, Martel Mallet went out and grabbed that job when Ian Smart was injured in the early going of the year. Ultimately ended up as the West Division Rookie of the Year. Faces off in the awards next weekend in Calgary. Hopes he's going to be taking the rest of the team with him.
Second down and 8 now. Critters with time again. There's Ian Smart. Cuts back, first down and more. Knocked out of bounds by Chip Cox. Rather roughly, Ian Smart and Chip Cox get into it on the sideline.
Love to see that kind of intensity from Ian Smart after the play. Controlled enough not to take a penalty. Just sending the message very early on. We're not going to be bullied by the Montreal Alouettes. And great play by Smart on the reception. Awareness of where he is on the field to stay inbounds, turn it up and make positive yards. We expect to see a fair bit of Ian Smart today as Martel Mallet was banged up last week, coming off an injured shoulder suffered against the Tiger Cats.
Smart's in the backfield again with Critters. Now in Alouette territory. Critters, pump fake, in trouble, he's down. There is a penalty marker down as well. And it looks like that sack will be negated.
Illegal contact. Montreal, number 41, to 10-yard penalty. First down.
Middle linebacker Shea Emery. So that moves the football down to the Montreal 35.
Shea Emery makes contact with the slot back coming across the field on this play, knocks him right off his feet. A little over-enthusiastic on that play.
Back in the ball game again is Martel Mallet. Again, Mallet took Ian Smart's job at the beginning of the season because Smart got hurt in the season opener. And then it took a long time for Ian Smart to get back in the lineup. And now they have both of them in the lineup.
Well, they do, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do use these two guys. Ian Smart, a guy who's an experienced kick returner, likely a little bit better in space. We may see him used more as a receiver in the passing game and so on, maybe on some outside runs. Mallet, a bigger body. Look to see him pounding between the tackles as he just did.
Printers now over the middle, knocked away by Billy Parker, one of the rookie DBs. The general manager, Jim Pop, brought to Montreal. He and Gerald Brown have been revelations for the Alouettes defense this season coming out of the Arena League.
So Billy Parker ends up matched up on G-Roy Simon here. You see Billy Parker up close to the line of scrimmage. He wants to be physical with Simon. There he gets hands on. This is what Billy Parker and Gerald Brown do best, is bang those receivers around. They have been key to the Montreal defense this season. Their ability to man up on some of the league's top receivers.
Paul McCallum has been money. 19 straight field goals for the veteran, and BC strikes first. BC Lions hit the board first. Larry Taylor and Andrew Hawkins, two speed demons back for the Alouettes. After the McCallum field goal, Taylor, who last year in the East Final against Edmonton returned 2 balls back for touchdowns. There was a reason that the Alouettes made it to the Grey Cup.
Well, Larry Taylor is something of a secret weapon for the Owls offense, but plenty of guys who aren't so secret in the starting 12. That backfield, keep an eye, of course, on Avon Coburn. Over 1,200 yards for him along the ground this season to complement Anthony Calvillo. 3 receivers, Richardson, Cahoon, Watkins, all over 80 catches and 1,000 yards. A very veteran offensive line.
A reverse to Hawkins. Hawkins a first down and more. Andrew Hawkins gets into it with Corey Banks. And Andrew Hawkins, a cousin of G-Roy Simon. For the first time, they get a chance to play against each other. The little Hawk comes up with a big run.
Yeah, Andrew Hawkins has become a bigger and bigger part of this Montreal Alouette offense. We saw them early in the season try to incorporate him a little bit more. Larry Taylor, at the start of the year, was kind of that guy they did unique things with, tried to get him the ball on screens, occasionally handoffs, reverses. As the year has gone on, Hawkins has taken on more of that role in the offense, allowing Taylor to concentrate strictly on the return game, and he's been very successful for the Alouettes.
1st and 10 from the BC 50. Calvillo, quick hitter as always, but all-star Kerry Watkins dropped the football. That's uncharacteristic of the sure-handed receiver.
Take a look now at the Lions defense. Great defensive line. This group led the CFL in sacks. Ricky Foley tied for the league lead with 12. Linebacking core will keep an eye on Corey Banks, who will frequently drop into coverage, playing as a 6th defensive back. On the back end, see how long Dante Marsh is out of the lineup, but in his absence, Jerome Dennis comes into play corner.
2nd down and 10. Calvillo lets it go. Avon Coburn straight arm and over the 40-yard line, close to the 39. They may have to measure here. It will depend on the spot. Looks like it's very close to a 1st down.
Yeah. And I would think whether they have it or not, this is going to be close enough that the Alouettes are going to go for it. Mark Trestman has been more than willing in 3rd and short situations all season. See Juwan Armour, arch rival, nemesis, if you will, of Avon Coburn, perhaps delivering a bit of an elbow drop on the tackle.
Both of these guys have been talking trash in the meetings between the two clubs this season, and they are short. Not a favorable spot, so it will be 3rd down. However, Avon Coburn told us yesterday that he's not going to engage Juwan Armour today. He said he will let his play do the talking.
Yeah, he's just going to walk away should anything come up. And I suspect that Juwan Armour, as much as he'll aim to intimidate, he's going to walk that very fine line this week as well. It's a big game. You don't want to see any discipline penalties. You don't want to see emotions and personal agendas take over with the team goal coming first.
Adrian McPherson, backup quarterback, comes in for the 3rd down plunge. He goes straight ahead, and he has it.
As I said, no surprise to see Mark Trestman taking that very calculated gamble on 3rd and short. The Owls have been arguably the best team in the Canadian Football League in short yardage situations all season long. Adrian McPherson, frankly, a little bit scary in short yardage.
Mark Trestman has enjoyed a lot of success. Not the ultimate success yet. Winning a Grey Cup, took his team there last year. Wants to get them back this year. 2nd season as head coach. Calvillo flushed out of the pocket. Goes down and only picks up a couple of yards. That is not Anthony Calvillo's typical play, but he can do it when he can take off, and normally he will hook slide.
And not necessarily his strength. Another strength for the Alouettes all season long has been quick starts, offensively and defensively. Well, the Lions have matched them when they've gone head-to-head. Both teams holding each other scoreless in the first quarters of each of their 2 regular season meetings this season. That Lions field goal on their first possession, breaking the ice, so to speak.
2nd and 9. The drop again, the pressure, and Calvillo is brought down, wrapped up. The 3-headed monster brings down Calvillo. Brent Johnson with some of the initial pressure, and this is the BC Lions MO. Get to an AC.
Le sac réalisé par le numéro 98, Stephen Williams, et le numéro 11, Jojo.
Credit the guys in coverage for the Lions on that particular play. One of the primary receivers was Avon Coburn. Snuck out into the flat and tried to turn that up into a wheel route, meaning he was going to go vertical up the sideline. But Corey Banks was all over him and took that route away. Bought a little bit of time for the pass rushers to get there.
Damon Duvall, 87% on the season, the all-star kicker and punter in the Canadian Football League. From the 46 and a half, kick is up, and it's good. 3-3 early on in the East Final. See that even though we are indoors, there is a bit of a current, wind current in here from the tunnel that they opened here at Olympic Stadium. Ball the Martin Smart, former Alouette, former most outstanding special teams player 2 years ago in the Canadian Football League.
Casey Printers takes the field for his second offensive possession. Printers has played 3 full games for the Lions since returning to their camp. Over 300 yards passing in all of those games. And his favorite battery mate, G-Roy Simon, has been over 100 yards receiving in each contest as well.
Once again, the handoff, and Shea Emery trying to punch the ball out, and Montreal looks like they have it. Shea Emery strips Martel Mallet.
Shea Emery has made a name for himself this season as one of the best middle linebackers in the Canadian Football League. He shows why here, this ability to wreak havoc, physical, aggressive play, leading that defense to the ball, ultimately falling on it for the turnover.
Shea Emery, who became the starting middle linebacker this season, a special teams player predominantly last year. Not only a starting middle linebacker, but he's become a rising star. Close to the red zone. Calvillo with time. End zone. Open. Touchdown. Jamal Richardson.
The Montreal Alouettes smell blood and go right for the throat here. After the turnover, catch the Lions still back on their heels. Jerome Dennis, the newcomer, is the man out on the corner. Jamal Richardson's the number 2 receiver, second in from the sidelines. Ryan Phillips gets his hands on, and then he passes him on, expecting help. Nobody's there to help out, and you have to wonder. Dennis in a position where he doesn't take a lot of repetitions. If maybe there's a breakdown in communication in the back end.
Jamal Richardson, 3 straight 100-yard plus receiving games against the BC Lions. Starts it off with a touchdown. 10-3 Alouettes. Welcome back to Olympic Stadium, where Jamal Richardson.
This is a concrete jungle, baby. Believe that. Yeah, we're here. I said what I said.
It is a jungle in here, and he just made it noisier. Touchdown, Richardson. Alouettes take the early lead. Under 7 minutes in the first quarter. Ryan Bryce Mullen trying to find a seam, and Corey Hucklack brings him down at the 30-yard line. On the sidelines for us today, John Liu. Come in.
Well, Roger, say Montreal took the early lead, and BC's been bit by the injury bug early. Defensive back Dante Marsh hurt his knee on Montreal's first offensive play, that long run by Andrew Hawkins. He is questionable return. Guys.
You can see the ice pack, and Marsh, big part of that ball-hawking secondary. BC has to hang on to the football. G-Roy Simon's first catch. A yard and a half short of a first down. And Casey Printers and G-Roy Simon have chemistry that goes back to 2004, when Casey Printers was the most outstanding player in the Canadian Football League.
Yeah, those 2 guys have always been on the same page, that's for sure. Over on the defensive side of the ball, that's where the concern lies for the Lions right now. And there's a double shuffle that happens when Dante Marsh goes out of the game, because LeVar Glover also has to switch sides to where he's not used to playing either.
Till Mallet bursts forward, is hit by Gerald Brown, but he has a first down. The guy they call the Hammer, Mallet, I'm sure will be a little more careful with the football right now.
Well, no doubt he was reminded of that on the sidelines. Ball security is critical, even more so when you play a team like the Montreal Alouettes, a team that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. You've got to step up to their level of precision.
1,240 rushing yards this season for Mallet. First and 10 for the Lions. Jamal Lee getting a chance to play here. Jamal Lee, a #1 first-round pick, 3rd overall by the Lions. Great university player, had a shot in the National Football League and made his way back to BC.
Well, Jamal Lee gets met by another former British Columbia High School football star. You see the read and react by Shea Emery. Sees the flow of that play, gets outside, up on the line of scrimmage, right there to meet the ball carrier.
Son of former CFL great Orville Lee. 2nd down and 11. Printers out of the pocket, will roll. Looks downfield, no one home. And picked off by Billy Parker. Parker tightens the sideline. Billy Parker down to the red zone, and another enormous Montreal turnover. And that may have been one that Casey Printers should have thrown away.
Definitely one that Printers needed to throw out of bounds. You can't always make magic when you're forced out of the pocket. Sometimes you just need to make a good decision, but keep an eye on Geroy Simon in the top right of your screen. Simon turns to go upfield and make a break on Parker. Casey Printers thinks he's going to sit on the sidelines. That's where he throws the football. No sooner had we said these guys are always on the same page than they clearly weren't, and it was costly.
Casey Printers off to a sensational start a week ago in Hamilton with the BC offense. Not so much here this afternoon in Montreal. Calvillo again, over the top. Ben Cahoon inside the 10-yard line. Again, a nominee for the most outstanding Canadian, Ben Cahoon. All the things he's done through the years, this is when Ben Cahoon excels in November.
Well, it sure is. He's proven himself time and again as a clutch player in the Canadian Football League, a guy who can be relied upon to make the big catch. Curious to see if the Owls will continue to get the ball to Cahoon. This is a guy who led the Canadian Football League with 89 receptions. Only 1 reception in each of his 2 games against the Lions this year.
This is his 14th career playoff game, discounting Grey Cups. He's only had 2 touchdowns through all of those playoff games, but he's had so many clutch catches, particularly on 2nd down. It's 2nd down now for the Owls. 2nd and 1. And not sure if they're going to get it here. Good job by the BC front line. Ricky Foley. What a year he has had, filling in for Cam Wake, who went south to the National Football League.
Penetration from that Lions defensive line led by big Caesar Rayford. Rayford, the Lions' only backup defensive lineman, dressed today, and this is a guy who's actually released by BC at the end of training camp. Due to injuries, they needed some depth on the D-line. Gave Rayford a call just a few weeks ago. Brought him out and right back on the roster for the playoffs.
So instead of going for a field goal, they'll bring in the big guys. And they're going to go after this. 3rd down and 1 from inside the 10-yard line.
You see Eric Wilson enter the game to play as a blocking back or tight end in this situation. We saw Eric Wilson catch a touchdown pass in short yardage earlier in the year.
Calvillo stays in the shotgun. Coburn beside him, takes the handoff, and he has the first down. Stopped by Juwan Armour. And the Montreal drive continues.
Although there's a risk of lining up in shotgun, having your quarterback that far back from the center, and you can have so many more issues with a shotgun snap than if the quarterback is underneath. But when that quarterback lines up in shotgun, all of a sudden the defense isn't in quite as much of a hurry to pinch and close gaps because they're not quite sure what's going to happen with the football. They need to defend a few more things.
1st and goal from just outside the 5-yard line. Calvillo rolls to his left, looks for Cahoon, takes it himself, and is brought down by Ricky Foley.
Ricky Foley, the former decathlete, I'll take him in that race against Anthony Calvillo to the sidelines every time. Once again, good coverage. Forces Calvillo to hold the ball a little bit longer than he typically would. The fact that he's rolling to his left, pursuit coming from his right, he's not in a position to put that ball up to throw either. Ricky Foley could have batted it away.
Here is a key down, particularly for the BC defense. 91 seconds left in the opening quarter. Second and goal. Calvillo, quick hitter, touchdown. Kerry Watkins. So difficult to defend that.
Well, we saw the Alouettes on their first touchdown score on a breakdown in communication with the player and Jerome Dennis playing a new position. This time, LeVar Glover, the corner, is playing on the opposite side from where he's used to. He usually plays to the field. Now he's playing short side against Kerry Watkins, not the guy he anticipated defending all day. Watkins makes a terrific move, sells that inside fake. Little physical contact to gain separation, bounces it back to the outside.
Montreal Alouettes showing no signs of any rust after the week bye. Looking ahead to the East Final, they lead 17-3. BC Lions have given the Montreal Alouettes a couple of gifts early on here. 2 turnovers resulting in 14 points. That's the difference in the ball game. With just over a minute to go in the opening quarter. The ball with the boot. Ryan Bryce Mullen again. And ripped down just over his 20-yard line. Good coverage again. Ramon Guzman in on the hit.
Well, Rod, you mentioned those turnovers by the BC Lions and the gifts being given to the Alouettes. You can't hand a great offensive football team the ball twice inside your own 25 in the first quarter of a ball game. The Alouettes are threatening to bury the Lions early here.
That's why a response early in this ball game is now critical for the BC Lions. Highly explosive offensive attack. Stands in, and making the catch is Bryce Mullen, the former star out of the University of Hawaii. He's one of the many players this year that has been in and out of Wally Wano's doghouse.
Yeah, they expected big things from Bryce Mullen. He was really the guy they kind of looked to be option number 3 in their passing game at the start of the year. He had issues with drops in weeks 1 and 2, kind of lost his spot. But with good play on special teams, he has earned his way back into the lineup. He turned in season highs in receptions and yards last week in the East semifinal in Hamilton.
Play action, there's the blitz. Arsenault again, makes Davis Sanchez miss, and a first down. Emmanuel Arsenault, 6 catches a week ago for 120 yards. That's the final play of the first quarter, dominated by BC turnovers and a Montreal 17-3 lead. Turnovers the story so far. Here are our first quarter numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
Yeah, and Rod, we talk all the time during the year about how turnovers are the stat that tell the greatest story in a football game. There's no better illustration than this. All other things being relatively equal, one team turns the ball over a couple of times, particularly in their own end of the field, and suddenly you've got a dominant Montreal first quarter.
Going into this game all week long, I'm sure the BC Lions, as they prepared for the Alouettes, talked about getting off to a good start. That hasn't happened. What do they do now? Try to silence this crowd? Get a quick response?
Well, they can't worry too much about the quick response and get greedy and try to get it all back. You can't get 14 points in one play. If you felt confident in your game plan coming in, it's early enough to stay with that game plan.
Casey Printers near perfect a week ago. Takes the option, and not biting one bit. Chip Cox, an all-star this season at linebacker, brings down Jamal Lee.
Well, we mentioned that shoulder injury to Martel Mallet earlier in the football game, likely a factor in why we've seen Jamal Lee getting a couple of touches on offense. He's the back lined up to the left on your screen of Casey Printers. Or play action, try to screen back. But great recognition there by Chip Cox. Not fooled by the play action fake at all.
Second and 3. Throwing down for Printers. Crowd very loud right now. Printers can't find anybody. And now spots Ryan Grice-Mullen. And it's a first down into Montreal territory. And this is what Casey Printers did a lot of last week.
Casey Printers, as well as any quarterback in the Canadian Football League, buys himself time when the pressure comes. Time for receivers to get open. Once it becomes a broken play, the defensive backs on the back end, they can't cover forever. It's impossible to cover a receiver for that long. Eventually, if the quarterback can stay alive long enough, somebody's going to get open. In that case, it's Ryan Grice-Mullen.
Tight formation now. And again, the fake option. Printers, though, is sacked by Anwar Stewart. And once again, that play action and the bit of deception not fooling that Montreal front four.
Well, the key guy in this play is the most athletic defensive tackle in the Canadian Football League. That's Karan Williams. He's lined up second man from the bottom of your screen. He loops to the outside of the guard, Sherko Haji Rasuli, and just plain beats him with speed. He's got a lower center of gravity than the guys blocking him, and he's faster, quicker than the guys blocking him. No more evident than on that play.
Second and 14. Look out. Printers avoids and goes deep for Arsenal. Into double coverage. Billy Parker, Etienne Boulay, and Davis Sanchez all around the football.
Well, much like the interception that Billy Parker had earlier in the football game, I'm not sure I like the throw from Casey Printers here. It almost turns into something spectacular with Emmanuel Arsenault, but that's also a very dangerous throw with two Alouette defenders right there. In fact, if Etienne Boulay was 5'11" instead of 5'9", he'd be running the other way right now.
Paul McCallum, veteran punter and kicker, trying to angle one here on Larry Taylor. And the Montreal Alouettes backed up on this possession, but they have a 14-point advantage. Alouettes played 2 games in the postseason here a year ago. Beat Edmonton in the Eastern Final and then lost to Calgary in the Grey Cup. Anthony Calvillo pulls it back and play action and finds Jamel Richardson, who dropped the football. That had Big Gainer written all over it.
Jamel Richardson might have been as stunned as everybody else in the ballpark that Anthony Calvillo was actually able to get the football through this small space. A little bit of traffic. Tries to knock the defenders off of Jamel Richardson. See Richardson and Ryan Phillips exchanging words.
Richardson's dislike for the BC Lions stems back to his days with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Bitter rivalry. Calvillo floats one, and catching it is Watkins. He's still on his feet, Kerry Watkins. Phillips finally drags him down. Good heavens, what a throw from Anthony Calvillo to Kerry Watkins.
Well, we see this all the time from Kerry Watkins as well. In the very end of this play. First of all, how about Aaron Hunt, the defensive tackle? He's got a clean shot at Anthony Calvillo here, but he thinks it's going to be a screen, so he bails out. Calvillo ends up scrambling because the play is cut off. Finds Watkins deep. Kerry Watkins makes those adjustments to the football. The tough adjustments look so commonplace, catching that one while backpedaling. Escaping the tackle.
Alouettes with a chance to put the early hammer down here. Calvillo, Richardson, touchdown! Hammer firmly down.
We saw the verbal battle moments ago between Jamel Richardson and Ryan Phillips. Jamel Richardson gets the last word for now. Classic Calvillo. 3-step drop and the ball is on its way.
Second touchdown of the game so far. Still 10.5 to go before halftime. And with a point after from Damon Duvall, the Montreal Alouettes are rolling. A 21-point lead. Twice now, Jamel Richardson has found the house. Anthony Calvillo, one of his favorite targets. Calvillo, though, so good at spreading the wealth. 3 1,000-plus yard receivers again in Montreal. The Alouettes lead the BC Lions 24-3. Ian Smart. Sense early on here. I think there was some concern in Montreal and from the Alouettes that they may not have the energy they would have, especially after having the week off, but they have come out here full fire.
Well, they sure have, and Anthony Calvillo is so mentally sharp. He outthinks Aaron Hunt here. Hunt recognizes that flow of the offensive line. They're going to their left. Great recognition by Hunt to sniff out the screen, but Anthony Calvillo, one step ahead. The ability of a veteran quarterback to process what he sees and turn it into something physical.
Bobbles and drops.
Well, that's not what you need when you're trying to dig your way out of a hole. This is a time when people have to start making the difficult plays, let alone the easy ones. Emmanuel Arsenault is just on a quick hook route, and he's got room. The halfback, Gerald Brown, is about 10 yards away from him.
Montreal defense, first in most categories. Dean Valley, the center, barks out the signals. And this time, oh, what a hit! How did he hang on to the football? Emmanuel Arsenault.
Well, in my books, that more than makes up for the last drop.
Wow. Unfortunately for the Lions, not a first down, but look at this highlight reel catch. Wow.
Thank goodness that helmet came off. Otherwise, we could have been looking at a serious neck injury, but a phenomenal athletic play by Emmanuel Arsenault and a big hit from Davis Sanchez, the veteran corner.
Third down again, the dangerous Larry Taylor. Good kick from McCallum. Taylor bobbles, and BC has the football. Tad Crawford has it. There is a flag back at the BC 44-yard line. The Lions offense is coming on the field, but let's see what the penalty is. Larry Taylor so good on returns, this time unable to hang on to it. And the Lions have the football. Exactly what they needed.
Montreal number 46. Penalties decline. BC first down.
Well, the risk of being a returner is oftentimes it's difficult to catch punts, and these guys fumble more often than a lot of guys on the field. Larry Taylor has fumbled 6 times during the regular season. That's the first time Larry Taylor has lost a fumble. Just unable to get the handle there. And the Lions finally getting some good karma.
It was looking like nothing good was going to come out from that at the beginning when he tried to field that over his shoulder. And now, instant momentum for the Lions. Printers, here's the rush. He rolls, can't find anybody. Bryce Moore is open, so too is Paris Jackson. It's a touchdown. And so turnovers leading to touchdowns, an early story here.
Casey Printers gets on the move on this play. Paris Jackson, the inside man of the three receivers, into the boundary. Runs all the way across the field here as Printer starts to scramble. Paris Jackson at the back of the end zone mirrors his quarterback. Printers gets his eyes downfield, and with free safety, Matthew Prue all over him. Paris Jackson comes up with a tough play. That's what the Lions needed.
And suddenly Olympic Stadium goes quiet. 24-10. Exactly what the BC Lions needed. Turnover, touchdown. Guy who caused the turnover, Larry Taylor, fumbling the football. On the return is back for a kickoff return now with Andrew Hawkins. BC Lions now trail by 14. Taylor looking to atone. James Yurichuk brings him down.
Anthony Calvillo rebounding from some tough performances during the season against BC in terms of getting the ball into the end zone. 3 straight drives culminating in touchdown passes versus a team against whom he just threw 1 touchdown pass in 8 quarters during the season.
And here is a guy who hasn't played, never mind the bye week. He didn't play in the final regular season game. He's really had 3 weeks off and showing no signs of rust in the inactivity. Jamal Richardson hit hard from behind by Aaron Hunt. 2 yards short of the first down.
The Lions special teams gave them their offense an opportunity to get some points on the board here. What the defense really needs is to come up with a stop. Let the offense get right back out on the field, generate some momentum.
With a big gainer.
Well, we saw it on the first offensive play of the game for the Alouettes, and it shows again here. It's the elusiveness of Andrew Hawkins. He slips the tackle there from Jerome Dennis. Makes Ryan Phillips miss. Fortunately, Phillips turns him back to the inside, but not before the speedy receiver picks up a couple of extra yards on the play.
Hawkins was a two-way player in college, played both receiver and defensive back. Calvillo with time going the other way and launching and open and touchdown, Brian Bratton. You think Anthony Calvillo has brought his A game?
No doubt about it. He gets a little bit of help here from receiver Jamel Richardson. We always talk about Mark Trestman's players looking after details. This is a receiver, a guy who's used to making touchdown catches. He's asked to block a defensive end. Well, he pins him at the line of scrimmage. That's Ricky Foley, tied for the league lead in sacks. That's what gets Anthony Calvillo to the outside, provides the quarterback time to throw the ball deep to Brian Bratton for the touchdown.
Montreal answers. Anthony Calvillo again, and victimized on the play. Also the free safety, who just happens to be Anthony Calvillo's best friend.
There are no friends on the other team come playoff time, that's for sure. Calvillo on the roll. Brian Bratton gets Baron Miles turned around. Miles overran the play, left to right on your screen. Bratton takes it inside to the post. Fantastic catch to finish this play off.
Baron Miles, who is He's a future Hall of Famer. Former teammate with Anthony Calvillo. Good buddies. Families vacation together. They haven't talked much this week. Said they'll do their talking after the ball game. Not much to talk about right now if you're the BC Lions. Down 21 again.
People have questioned the Montreal Alouettes over the last few years as to whether they're sharp enough at the end of the year because they haven't been challenged for first place. We saw these guys in a meaningless game in the final week of the season dominate the Toronto Argonauts. They're certainly showing that they're sharp here again after that 2-week layoff.
You even see it in the ferocity of their special teams right now.
No doubt. Football game always starts with a kickoff. Special teams is the first unit on the field, an opportunity to set the tone. The Alouettes have done that.
Again, these two teams have played very close football. Low-scoring games leading up to halftime this season. Now, keep in mind, KC Printers didn't play against Montreal in those games. But we've had a lot of offensive fireworks so far. Not to mention the turnovers. Four-man rush. Printers escapes, throws it away. As he slipped, he let the football go. Big Eric Wilson. Alouettes so happy to have him back. He hasn't played since suffering a dislocated kneecap late in the season.
Eric Wilson, the defensive tackle, almost came up with an interception here. He knows he should have had this one on the throwaway. As we mentioned, Eric Wilson had a touchdown reception earlier in the year, so we know he can catch.
Two penalty markers flew just as the ball was snapped. The Lions last week had all kinds of trouble with procedure calls in Hamilton.
Offside. Montreal.
This time against Montreal.
5-yard penalty. Repeat, second down.
So it will be second down and 5 yards to go. But Wally Buona knew his team had to shore up the penalty department. A lot of it had to do with noise and also the signal caller on the ball on the offensive line.
Yeah, and the communication between those guys is critical, and it has to be nonverbal when there's so much noise. Last week, they asked veteran guard Sherko Haji-Rasuli to make those calls with veteran center Angus Reid out for the season. Now it's Dean Valley making those calls.
Printers in trouble again, and one hops one. And so far, KC Printers has seen a lot of that front four of the Montreal Alouettes.
Yeah, and the question commonly asked this week, can the Montreal Alouettes contain KC Printers? Can they handle KC Printers? Well, it becomes a non-issue if this young BC offensive line can't handle the Montreal front four. And right now, they're getting killed.
Sean Main with contain there and keeping KC Printers in the pocket. Callum will let this fly from his 20. Taylor finds the seam. Larry Taylor to the 48-yard line. Would it be any better start for Anthony Calvillo? 7 times he has been named the most outstanding player for the Montreal Alouettes. 7 times. That's remarkable. Only Jackie Parker did it 7 times on a team, being named the MVP of his team.
Well, to think that Anthony Calvillo hasn't even spent his entire career with the Montreal Alouettes, making stops in Las Vegas and Hamilton along the way.
4.5 to go before halftime. Play action again, knocked down this time. One of the few hiccups for the Calvillo-led offense.
Well, this Montreal offense has shown throughout the season that they're capable of of mounting drives. You see the 50 yards or less at the top. Well, yeah, most teams can handle doing that from time to time. But you look at that 71 to 80, 11 touchdown drives of that length over the course of the season. Those are sustained drives. Well, they've demonstrated it again here today. They're 4 touchdown drives, all coming from different ranges. 2 short ones after turnovers, but a 3-play 70-yard drive and 3 plays 97 yards for another touchdown.
And Ricky Foley bit there. And a lot of that has to do, obviously, with the wealth of riches that Anthony Calvillo has offensively. Keep in mind, he's doing it today, and they haven't even used Avon Coburn yet.
Offside. BC number 95. It's a 5-yard penalty. We'll repeat second down.
Wally Buono's head shake says it all.
Wally Buono, one of those rare coaches that doesn't wear a headset. Second and 5. Calvillo stands in and knocked down, and one of the rare times today as Ricky Foley makes amends for that jump to the line. Damon Duvall has to come out and punt this ball away.
Well, Ricky Foley needed that redemption after his penalty. Took the Alouettes offense from being 2nd and 10 and a defensive advantage to being 2nd and 5.
First time that Duvall has to punt the ball. Lions set up the return with Ryan Grice-Mullen and Ian Smart back. Whoa, very close to having that blocked. Smart cut down, and the whistle. Diamond Ferry and Ian Smart into it. Chip Cox into it. Frustrated Ian Smart, and the BC Lions and penalty markers flew.
Some of that frustration from Ian Smart comes from the fact that it was a quick whistle here. Ian Smart keeps his knees off the ground. As long as it's just your hands and feet touching the ground, you're not down. So the whistle never should have gone as quickly as it did. And then the return man hates having the ball slapped away at the end of the play by a defensive player. But you can't respond like that.
Objectionable conduct. Montreal number 40. Major foul, unnecessary roughness. BC number 2. It's a net 5-yard penalty against BC, and it's first down.
All of that for that.
And having spent my career as an offensive player, I'm glad they called the objectionable conduct on Diamond Ferry as well.
3.5 to go before halftime. All Alouettes first half. Critters, long field here. Here's the rush again. Finds an outlet, and it's Rolly Lumbala.
Davis Sanchez is bringing it today. We saw that huge hit on Emmanuel Arsenault earlier. He just cut down about 240 pounds of Rolly Lumbala.
We saw Rolly's younger brother, Stephen, yesterday. Plays with the University of Calgary. The Dinos on their way to the Vanier Cup to play against Queens next week. Had a good game. Rolly Lumbala's little brother did. Second down and 2. Firing one to Emmanuel Arsenault. Gerald Brown in on the tackle. 2:39 to go before halftime. Lions move the football. Will move aside. It's the 3-minute warning here at Olympic Stadium. Second half of our doubleheader. The West semifinal is next. Printers in the pocket still. Throws it to the sideline for Ryan Grice-Mullen. The best thing that happened is that the ball went behind him and incomplete. Don't forget the West final coming up Calgary Stampeders, defending Grey Cup champions, in Saskatchewan to take on the Rough Riders. And maybe a chance this year of a repeat of last year. Calgary Montreal Grey Cup, only this time to be held in Calgary. The Stamps have to get by Saskatchewan. The Owls have to get by BC. Arsenault has been the favorite target the last couple of weeks for KC Printers. He comes up limping and will like he's going to stay right back in the game.
Well, after Arsenault dropped the football, we talked about the need for players to make tough plays if the Lions were going to make their way out of this hole. Emmanuel Arsenault has sure paid a price for his last couple of receptions.
Four receivers to the left. Printers now goes right to Bryce Mullen, who dropped it. Another catchable football for a Lions receiver.
This is what got Ryan Bryce Mullen into Wally Guano's doghouse earlier in the season. Pushes downfield and then a comeback route to the sidelines. The ball hits him in the chest and he's got, plain and simple, has to hold on to that one.
Not seen a lot from number 81, G-Roy Simon. One catch so far. Printers. Again. Over the middle this time, Paris Jackson. Big play there into Montreal territory inside the 45 with 2 minutes to go before halftime.
The Lions line up with 4 receivers. Out to the wide side of the field, Paris Jackson, the inside man, just runs that dig route coming across the field. Gains a step on Chip Cox. Makes the catch as the free safety Matthew Cruz steps up.
And Montreal jumped. Sean Main in the backfield.
Offside. Montreal number 91. It's a 5-yard penalty and remains first down.
At practice this week, the Alouettes have been using crowd noise defensively for their defensive unit because they knew there was going to be a lot of crowd noise here at Olympic Stadium today. They've been pumping up the decibels.
Yeah, it's an element that people don't often think of. The crowd gets loud to try and affect the visiting team's offense. But the defense, the home team's defense, still needs to make calls as well.
Here's the rush. Printers avoids one. But he's sacked. He's fumbled the football. BC has it back. Chip Cox got to the BC quarterback.
Well, Chip Cox has been the Alouettes' master of mayhem all season long, creating a lot of chaos for opposing offenses. On this play, he's just unblocked. And this is the speed of Chip Cox. He's going to come from the left side of your screen. They've got the Lions outnumbered. He's got a free shot, takes a bad angle, but again uses that speed to recover on the play and get back to KC Printers for the sack.
There is a challenge flag from Mark Tressman and the Alouettes. They are going to say that KC Printers' knee was down and it was a sack. Consequently, a loss.
Montreal is challenging the ruling on the field of an incomplete pass. We will review the play.
They're saying an incomplete pass as he threw forward.
Yeah, Printers tries to throw the ball forward as he's down, but before that ball is gone, his knee is clearly on the ground. This should be ruled a sack. Ball still in, left knee is down. The ball is still in Printers' hand. In fact, his arm hasn't even started forward by the time his knee is down.
Now Jake Ireland is back at command center looking over the replays.
The ruling on the field is overturned. The BC quarterback was down with contact It will be second down on the 51-yard line. Second down.
So indeed, it'll be second and long instead of second and 5. So a good challenge by the Montreal Alouettes. Printers. A holding call coming, however. Paris Jackson just over the line of scrimmage, but holding against BC. The Lions offensive line having all kinds of trouble with that Montreal front seven.
Holding. BC 61. Penalty is declined. Third down.
That's on the left tackle. First-year player Darren Heerspink guilty of this call. He's working against Anwar Stewart on the play. Stewart gets inside position. Heerspink just hangs on a little too long.
Heerspink taking that position vacated by Rob Murphy. Now an Argonaut, former All-Star. McCallum over the head of Larry Taylor. Take the knee, and BC will put one more point on the board. 20-point lead now with 1:19 to go before halftime. Wally Buono has called this one of his most challenging years, even though his team is in a final, albeit the East final. Lost so many players, so many All-Stars. Had no rhythm at the beginning of the season. A 1-4 start. Really remarkable that the Lions were able to make it this far.
Well, and Wally hasn't been accepting any excuses, and the ready-made one, of course, is that they replaced those veteran stars with young players, and it took time for them to gel as a unit and so on. But Wally has pointed out it's not, he doesn't feel like it's the young guys that have failed to meet expectations this year. It's some of the veterans.
Avon Colbert, only his second touch so far.
You look at the young guys on this Lions roster. Martel Mallet, a finalist for Rookie of the Year. Emmanuel Arsenault, if he wasn't on the same team as Martel Mallet, very easily could have been. Darren Toney has been solid in the secondary. The young guys have been all right.
Dropping. Far sideline. And picked off by Ryan Phillips. First interception thrown by Anthony Calvillo. So with 46 seconds left, BC could put some more points on the board. A chance to get to the end zone, at the very least. A McCallum field goal effort.
Well, this is a ball where Anthony Calvillo just loses his grip. Ryan Phillips is the guy who benefits. Not an Anthony Calvillo type ball. Tried to hit Kerry Watkins in that hole, but just didn't get much on it. The ball was fluttering right from the get-go. The last time that the Lions were given the gift of a turnover in Montreal territory, they turned it into their first touchdown of the ball game. They need that lightning to strike again.
Critters. Chip Cox has been all over this field so far today.
G. Roy Simon suggesting that Chip Cox is all over him. Cox, known as a physical defender, accused by many receivers of being a clutch and grab guy. G. Roy Simon tries to make his break the left hand. Don't want to dust the back of G. Roy Simon's jersey for glove prints.
They have a point there. This is a critical play for the Lions to get it in field goal position at the very least. Behind the intended target, Emmanuel Arsenault.
Well, Casey Printers got hit just as he threw that football, and that took him off the mark.
Trying to capitalize on this turnover. 36 seconds to go.
Holding. BC number 61. Penalty is declined. It's third down.
Casey Printer shows his reaction.
Anwar Stewart Knows there was a hold in that backfield. So all Wally Buono can do after getting that ball back is kick it back to the Montreal Alouettes.
See Casey Printer's experience and display frustration for the first time since coming back to the Lions.
On his goal line is Taylor. The Alouettes are going to be pinned here with 26 seconds to go before halftime. Likely
Decision by Larry Taylor here not to give up the single point with just 26 seconds left on the clock. There's no reason to.
Likely a more conservative approach by Anthony Calvillo and the Alouettes.
That would be in keeping with the decision not to give up the single.
Not many blemishes from the Owls in this first half.
They get into kneel down formation here.
The Owls started fast. Went vertical a couple of times. It all paid off for Mark Trestman in Montreal, whose motto this season, win the day. Players wear shirts with that motto on it. One game at a time. Calvillo lets it tick down. And they all let him just kneel, and time will expire on the first half. Alouettes impressive, 31-11. Rhoda at the half from Regina coming up next. Montreal Alouettes leading 31-11 heading to the second half. Let's join John Liu now with Mark Trestman.
Mark, has your club met or exceeded your expectations in terms of its sharpness coming back from a week off?
Well, we did a good job early on in all sides of the ball. We had some good special teams play. We got turnovers when necessary, and we capitalized on them. And it was a good first half for us. We know we got a long way to go.
What small areas do you need to tidy up to make sure they keep their foot on the gas?
Well, we've got to try to start fast here offensively. I think we did a better job later in the second quarter handling our second and long defense. We stopped them a couple of times, and I think that'll give us some confidence going into the second half.
Thank you, Mark.
You bet.
Anthony Calvillo off to a torrid pace early through a late interception, but for the most part, near perfect first half. And that's the worst nightmare for the BC Lions.
It certainly is, and it's not for lack of opportunities for BC, though, that shot themselves in the foot with those first quarter turnovers. Montreal is a good enough offensive team that they're going to make plays and they're going to hurt you on their own. But when you give them the ball inside your own 25-yard line twice in the first quarter of a football game, good luck to you.
What do you think Jacques Chapdelaine and Wally Buono have told KC Printers? It looked in the first half that he couldn't find anybody open and may have been hanging on to the football a little too long.
Well, Printers probably was holding on to the ball too long, but part of that is dictated by the plays that are called for him. The Lions have to call plays if they're going to abandon the run, as they basically did in the second quarter of the football game. Then at least some of the passes have to be screens. They have to mix in some draws. They have to throw some pre-step drop protections so that the routes allow him to get rid of the ball quickly.
Andrew Hawkins with a hurdle and up to the 40-yard line. Brought down by Jamal Lee. Here comes that potent Montreal offense. Anthony Calvillo nominated for Outstanding Player again. Two-time winner of the award in the CFL.
The other nominee representing the West, Calgary Stampeder running back Joffrey Reynolds.
Here's Hawkins from the backfield. Hit hard on the far side. Jerome Dennis.
This is a nice play by Jerome Dennis. A big hit, physical play. Made sure to secure the tackle. This is exactly how Montreal started the first half of this football game offensively, putting it in the hands of Andrew Hawkins. On that play, he eluded a few tacklers, picked up a first down, and that kind of set the tone. Maybe the big hit from Jerome Dennis on this play sets the tone for the Lions defense here in the second half.
Looks like Montreal may have jumped there. Looked like it was the left side of the line.
Procedure. Montreal number 59. It's a 5-yard penalty and it remains second down.
The guy who protects Anthony Calvillo's blind side, Josh Burke.
Or if it's second and long situation. Obviously the kind of situation that Mike Benavides and this Lions defense want. They need to take advantage of it here.
And again, another jump. Calvillo's not happy.
Procedure. Montreal number 57. It's a 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
This time, 7-time All-Star Scott Flory, the right guard, moving.
Scott Flory, who is the CFL's most outstanding offensive lineman in 2008. A finalist again here in 09.
Alouettes placed 9 players on the All-Star team. League-wide All-Star team, named earlier this week, including Calvillo. Going deep again, and trying to run under it is Brian Bratton. A rare overthrow from Anthony Calvillo. Bratton almost caught up with it.
He sure did. The Lions escape with a victory there as Brian Bratton was in behind LeVar Glover on this play. Pressure on Calvillo. Perhaps forced him to just slightly overthrow his receiver.
David Duvall.
Here we go.
Bryce Mullen. And look at this. Deandra Dix. What a play. Downfield to make the tackle on Ryan Bryce Mullen. The Alouettes amped up. Pressurized.
The Montreal D picks up right where they left off. All over Casey Printers in that backfield. This is just a 4-man rush, just the 4 defensive linemen beating their blocks one-on-one.
Second and 10 from the BC 25. Slings one. And O'Neal Wilson couldn't sell it.
Wilson does a good job coming back to the football here, but Mark Estelle gets that left hand in to pry the ball away. Estelle, one of the top corners in the Canadian Football League.
High snap, McCallum.
Watch out, ball!
Wobbly one. Barry Taylor on the sideline. Actually, a very good kick considering where Taylor was. But it will be a good start for Anthony Calvillo. They'll scrimmage from near their 50-yard line. Paul McCallum talked this week that You know, the sun may be setting on what has been a very good career for Paul McCallum. He missed 11 weeks this season, gave way to the young guy, Sean White. McCallum says, you know, I'm not done yet. They can't use me in BC. I'm sure I can find a place to play.
Yeah, certainly the indication from the Lions is that they'd like to give Sean White an opportunity again next season to win that job.
Van Cahoon's second catch of the afternoon, close to a first down.
With that second catch, Cahoon matches his season total in 2 games against the BC Lions.
37-year-old out of BYU. Spent a lot of time in Canada as a youngster growing up. American-born, but considered a non-import, considered a Canadian.
And it's one of those things that gets talked about a lot. Ben Cahoon's grandparents and parents are Canadian. That's what led him to spend a lot of time in the country.
Adrian McPherson on the short yardage play. There is a penalty on the play. And like Anthony Calvillo, we mentioned Ben Cahoon.
Offside. BC number 92. 5-yard penalty. First down.
5-yard penalty. You know, it's no coincidence, Mr. Ford, that Anthony Calvillo and Ben Cahoon are linked forever. They came to Montreal the same year and have had enormous success together.
Oh, they sure have. We talked about that chemistry between Casey Printers and Giroy Simon. Those are guys who just played together for a couple of years. But you think about these two guys now starting their second decade as teammates, battery mates here for the Alouettes.
12 Eastern Finals, 6 Grey Cup games. Calvillo, Bratton again! Bratton down to the 1-yard line. There is a penalty marker back at the 42-yard line, and it's going to go against, well, the BC Lions saying it's going against Montreal, and it is, so that will come back.
Holding. Montreal number 6. It's a 10-yard penalty. Repeat. First down.
I'll tell you, when you're BC, you feel good that the penalty brings the ball back. We're going to take a look at where this call occurs. Avon Coburn steps up to pick up the linebacker blitzing Anton McKenzie. McKenzie gets around him. Coburn hauls him down. But the holding call at the line of scrimmage really had nothing to do with the fact that Brian Bratton was wide open 40 yards down the field. When you're Mike Benavides, you're still a little nervous about that.
They have to tighten up defensively. Ball batted away. Looking for Cahoon again. Darren Toney.
This one deflected just as it came out of Calvillo's hands. Darren Toney didn't have an interception this season. Great opportunity to get his first, and the timing was right for the BC Lions.
Lions know they missed a great opportunity. An interception late in the first half and couldn't put any points on the board. They need some stops. Knocked down again. Big Aaron Hunt.
Aaron Hunt is one of the guys who has to lead this BC defense. He's working against Scott Flory on this play, second from the bottom of this line. Gets his hands up. He's not sure where that ball ended up. Takes a pretty quick reaction for a D lineman to get an interception.
Bryce Mullen has some room now. Finds the wall. Ryan Bryce Mullen only has Damon Duvall to beat, and he will score. Goodbye. And the BC Lions with a huge return.
Much has been said about how the Lions special teams needed to be wary of Larry Taylor. We've seen Taylor with some good returns here today, but Ryan Greismullen comes up with the biggest of the game thus far.
Couple of big blocks in here too, setting up the wall, and then it was one-on-one and daylight, green light. Ryan Greismullen takes it 105 yards. And once again, the BC Lions have new life. Callum the point after. Exactly what the Lions needed at the perfect time. Early here in the third quarter. There's a happy guy along with Ryan Greismullen. Special teams suddenly special for BC. Their first return on a kick of any kind for a touchdown this season.
Oh, what a moment to have that happen. And that one, as we'll see in a minute, just the way Chip McMahon drew it up.
(31-18). Now Larry Taylor and Andrew Hawkins want to have their say. Sean White handling the kicks, the kickoffs. Hawkins wrestled to the ground by James Yurichuk.
Well, there were some great blocks that sprung Ryan Greismullen on this return. James Yurichuk gets one of them. He's right here. And as Ryan Greismullen continues along, good decision there by Emmanuel Arsenault to let his guy go. And then a fantastic job here by Jamal Lee, another Bishop's product, to pin Matthew Prue to the inside. Jamal Lee has become an outstanding special teams performer in his short time with the Lions. He had 4 special teams tackles on the cover teams last week against Hamilton. Reaction from the Lions defense.
Janelle Richardson sprung to midfield. Quick throw and go from Anthony Calvillo. Well, the longest punt return in a CFL playoff game. Keep in mind, playoff statistics are not the same as Grey Cup statistics. So the longest return in a playoff game, up on that list, Gizmo, Bashar Livingston, Larry Taylor last year. So Ryan Greismullen, you have put yourself in the record books.
I want to do the first time.
Most importantly, he's put his team back in the ball game. Calvillo trying to erase that touchdown. Finds Kerry Carter.
Ryan Phillips did a terrific job to find Kerry Carter quickly too and bring the Alouettes fullback to the ground. Rare second and long situation here created by the defense. Ryan Phillips has his eyes in the backfield. He's aware of where the receiver is, but he's watching where the ball's coming all the time. Right there to pick up Kerry Carter as the ball arrives.
Just into BC's side of the field at 2nd and 7. Hook drop from Calvillo. Pressure now. Takes off. First down. Anthony Calvillo. Down to the 30. Who says this guy can't run?
And it looked like Anthony Calvillo was going to be dead to rights here, but Juwan Armour, number 11, the Lions middle linebacker, just lost his footing as he went to try to make a play on Calvillo. Just as he steps up, Armour's there in the hole, but overruns it a little bit. Can't recover in time to get back.
Tackle there from his rival, Juwan Armour. You see that beard and mustache that Avon Coburn is sporting. He says that the best thing that can happen right now, he says, just want to win this game this week, win the Grey Cup, and then shave.
Yeah.
They are sporting their playoff beards here in Montreal.
He was referring to his mustache as a fro-stash.
Yes.
It's going a little chia pet-like on him.
Watkins on his feet, spinning. What a play. Down to the 13-yard line. Kerry Watkins has been a difference maker today.
Watkins, a big play guy all season long. Here it's just a quick slant route in front of the corner, Jerome Dennis. Again, a missed tackle. Watkins, the few nice shakes before Ryan Phillips finally brings him down.
Anthony Calvillo has thrown 4 touchdown passes today. One more would equal a CFL playoff record as well. Calvillo to the end zone again for Bratton. Up he goes. Down he comes with the touchdown. That's 5. Bratton has 2. Richardson has 2.
Well, Brian Bratton is a bit of a thief. He just stole this ball from Jerome Dennis, the defender, the taller player, but Bratton goes up over top of him, takes it right off his helmet. Great play, great hunger from Brian Bratton.
Kind of been the unsung guy amongst the star receivers in Montreal, but he has scored some big ones for the Alouettes through the years, and 2 big ones today. 5 touchdown passes equals a CFL playoff record for Anthony Calvillo. And it erases that punt return by Ryan Bryce Mullen. If and when Anthony Calvillo decides to walk away from CFL football, I still think he's got a lot of football left in him. He'll continue to do what he has done today, put his name in the CFL record books. He might become the record breaker today. Very good chance. Bryce Mullen. Penalty marker down.
But when you're a guy like Jerome Dennis, spends all his time on special teams and backing up on defense during the season, all you want is an opportunity to play, especially on the big stage. He's had kind of a tough induction to the lineup here. You see the dejection on his face after being beaten on that touchdown. And Jarius Jackson in his ear, trying to keep him up. He knows there's a lot of football left in this game. Can't give up now. I suspect Jarius Jackson, one of the leaders of this team, a guy voted as a team captain at the start of the year. One of the things he's probably saying is, we need you.
Jackson, who comes into this game listed as 3rd on the depth chart. Printers lets it go. O'Neal Wilson has the first down. The last 2 times these teams met, Jarius Jackson was the quarterback for the BC Lions.
He was, and Jarius Jackson performed well in those 2 football games, obviously, for the Lions to have defeated Montreal under the dome in BC, and really came within a play of beating the Owls at Molson Stadium this year. And every CFL fan knows that's Death Valley in this league.
Now back in the ball game, off the bench. He is obviously banged up. Martel Mallett has not played much today, and Eric Wilson got in his grill. And he'll quickly go to the sideline. This is not the Martel Mallett, a healthy Martel Mallett that we have seen through the last few weeks, and especially last week. His big run in overtime in Hamilton last week helped seal the deal for the Lions.
Well, Mallett's just got his left arm hanging at his side. You know that shoulder is in a lot of pain right now.
Casey Printers having a hard time with the crowd here. He was yelling, he was screaming, and so were 50,000 others.
The crowd noise was certainly an issue.
Count violation. BC number 1. It's a 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
Now Casey Printers is going to raise and lower his foot to show the center when to snap the ball. The ball doesn't come back. It's like he's stamping his foot as if that's going to make a louder noise. Just the frustration trying to get his center, Dean Valley, to be able to hear. But when he initially raised his foot, the idea is that Valley is looking back through his legs so he can see it. Valley wasn't looking the first time.
Looking now. And the ball underthrown again. Looking for Emmanuel Arsenault. It will be third down and another boot away here from the BC Lions. A bewildered Casey Printers this week. Played as good as you can play as a quarterback last week in Hamilton. Paul McCallum has to kick it with his left foot. Montreal will scoop, and they will score. And look who has it, Jamel Richardson. That's his third. Hat trick.
This is officially ugly. The snap comes back to Paul McCallum. It's just a bit off target. He has to go up and get it. Thinks for a moment about running. By the time he realizes that he should have kicked it, way too late.
You are so right. It has become ugly for the BC Lions. Third touchdown today, Jamel Richardson. Prophetic, he said he was going to have a big game today. He has. 45-18 the score. 5 touchdown passes today. Smolin trying to find a seam ahead first. Well, in this din in the dome, let's go down to John Liu.
Okay, guys, prior to that last Montreal touchdown, the time count violation was probably the first tangible sign that the noise level was getting to Casey Printers. Our trusty noise level meter had the crowd rated about 105 decibels, which is pretty much as loud as a chainsaw being run beside the BC quarterback. During the first half, they were roughly about 99 decibels, but they've really upped their game in the second half. And if that's having an impact on BC, then that doesn't bode well. As one defender told me yesterday, he thought that the crowd noise could very well be a significant factor in today's outcome. Guys?
That's not a chainsaw, that's a steamroller. 45-18, the score. Printers. Neil Wilson. Some good yak yards after catch.
Good signs of life from the BC Lions. They've got a long way to come back. They'll need to string together a series of plays like that. Neil Wilson, former Montreal Alouette.
John Liu mentioned the noise. The crowd is pumped up this volume today. Made it hard on the Lions. Pump fake. Printers, and almost picked off by free safety. Etienne Boulay. He knows he should have had one too. That was not a good throw from Casey Printers.
Well, Casey Printers expected that his receiver, Ian Smart, was going to come open on that play. They had on a fake hitch screen. Smart is right at the bottom of the screen. He pretends he's going to block. And then takes off upfield. Mark Estelle is right there to create that collision. Printers anticipates where Smart is going to be, but Estelle impeded him. And that is why Etienne Boulay was the only one near that ball.
4 receivers to the right. Printers, all kinds of trouble again, throws it away. Casey Printers afforded so much time last week. running for his life today.
Well, this is part of the problem that you run into when you fall behind against a team that can rush the passer like Montreal. They know you're in passing situations. They just pin back their ears, and when you've got the likes of Karan Williams, Eric Wilson, Anwar Stewart, and John Bowman doing that, it's going to be a long day as a quarterback. And Eric Wilson just makes it a little bit longer.
So McCallum will have to kick it away again, and they're counting bodies here to make sure that nothing goes astray like last time. Spiraling kick back to Taylor inside his 15. There's a penalty marker down. This will likely come back a few yards. The Alouettes leading 45-18 with 1:23 to go in the third. Anthony Calvillo, he's been down this road so many times as a Montreal Alouette, so many times. In many ways, the Alouettes have been like the Atlanta Braves in baseball. They get to the World Series or get very deep in the playoffs, don't win the whole thing very often. That's what's happened here. If there's any criticism about the Alouettes, they've been a powerhouse. Just one Grey Cup win to show for it back in 2002. Don't get me wrong, there are some players that would love any kind of ring.
Procedure. Montreal number 57. It's a 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
You know, and it's so true, and you draw the parallel to the Atlanta Braves, that eventually you have a core group of guys and you make a run year after year with that core group of guys, but eventually that core starts to get a little bit older and your window starts to close. And that's where there's a bit of pressure on the Alouettes now.
It's their longest field of the afternoon to try to march. Final minute now, third quarter, and Avon Coburn gets back to the line of scrimmage, maybe a little further, and his shadow, Juwan Armour's right there as always.
Well, Avon Coburn said he's not going to get into the verbal jousting with Juwan Armour this week. He's just going to worry about playing football. And really at this point, the only trash talk Coburn needs is to point up at the scoreboard.
2nd and 14. Handoff again. Coburn. Aaron Toney and Aaron Hunt with the tackle. 4 yards shy of a first down. It will be third down. And another rarity today, a Damon Duvall sighting for a punt. The only distraction perhaps this week for the Montreal Alouettes, the rumor mill. Mark Trestman, his name surfacing as the Buffalo Bills fired Dick Duron. We had a chance to have a candid conversation with him the other day. He kind of smiled and said it was flattering.
Well, it's very typical of Mark Trestman, though, and he says, you know, things like that, people from other organizations become interested in you because your team is successful. It comes from team success.
Damon Duvall got knocked down, wants a penalty call, but doesn't get it. And at the other end, Ian Smart runs into a wall named Shea Emery. That's the end of the third quarter. Damon Duvall and the Alouettes 15 minutes away from another trip to another Grey Cup. Welcome back to the Anthony Calvillo Show. 5 touchdown tosses today. Our numbers brought to you by Tim Hortons. Always fresh, always.
The statistic that jumps off the page at me, rushing yards. When the BC Lions beat the Montreal Alouettes in early September, Martel Mallet had 21 carries for 213 yards. Today, the Lions have 9 yards on the ground, and that's a function of falling behind early.
And the worst news for the BC Lions, the Alouettes, when they lead after 3 quarters, when they lead after halftime, are undefeated. And when they have a big lead, they rarely ever give it up.
Yeah, good luck to you when you're down by as much as the BC Lions are at this point. the Alouettes aren't going to take the foot off the gas pedal. That's something they've shown throughout this season.
We begin the fourth quarter. A huge mountain to climb for Casey Powers. Throws a wobbler to G. Simon, only his second catch of this game.
And G. Simon, who is such a big factor in the last Alouettes-Lions matchup, had over 120 yards receiving in that football game, and a guy who's been hot down the stretch. G. Simon has been over 100 in 5 of his last 7 football games. Fantastic finish to the season. But he has been erased today.
Delayed handoff and a fumble, and Montreal has it again, and it's Eric Wilson on the recovery.
Look at Martel Mallet coming off the field. That left arm is just hanging limp at his side.
I think he's done for the day. You just look at that reaction. The second fumble of the day by Martel Mallet. He fumbled earlier. And the guy who pulled the ball out this time was Ramon Guzman.
Number 52. And on any other team in the Canadian Football League, Ramon Guzman would be playing every down. Here in Montreal, he rotates.
I love you guys. Hey, man, that's what we do, man. And my boy.
Well, a Montreal bench, I think, already looking ahead to next week. Andrew Hawkins. Chance for him to get some reps here as well. And maybe the only drama left in this ball game is whether Anthony Calvillo will throw his 6th touchdown pass. He's never thrown 6 in any game, regular season or playoff. And his 6th today would give him a CFL playoff record.
Well, we know Mark Trestman doesn't like to get Anthony Calvillo out of games too early. You know, Trestman has said repeatedly one of the toughest things to do in this league is to close out games. This one's kind of closing out.
Avon Colburn, a little shimmy and shake. Close to a first down. Mark Trestman is also a guy who doesn't like to rub it into the opposition. But here's one little thing about Anthony Calvillo is that, again, he looks sharp today. He hasn't played a whole lot in the last month.
Yeah, and we asked Calvillo about this on Friday after the Alouettes practice. And he was very nonchalant about it at that time, felt very confident and comfortable, and said, at this stage of my career, I'm ready. I know what it takes to be sharp. I know what I need to do, and I'm ready to go. And he has proven to be prophetic.
Hands it off again. Colburn. Well, the guy in his way on that run was one of the officials. He even deked him out.
And it just seems symbolic that at the end of this play, as Avon Colburn takes off on a big run, Juwan Armour comes up limping.
Maybe 6.
Inside the 13. Calvillo. Little toss off again to Colburn. Avon Colburn, who, like a lot of backs in the Canadian Football League, had to wait and bide his time until the Montreal Alouettes had a spot ready for him. He came into this league, if you can believe it, as a linebacker, a special teams player. Now one of the best running backs in the game. Calvillo looks end zone for the record and overthrows Jamel Richardson, who already has 3 touchdowns.
The record will have to wait. Damon Duvall and the field goal unit come on the field on 3rd down. Calvillo was lobbying for a flag for interference. Richardson is the outside receiver on the play. He gets grabbed there by the defender, LeVar Glover. He had a pretty good case, but at 45-18, the Alouettes aren't going to lose sleep over it.
And again, with over 11 minutes to go and a big lead, getting close to 50 here. Last thing the Alouettes want to do, too, is get anybody banged up and hurt. Looking ahead to Calgary. Eyes firmly planted towards Calgary now. Another number one getting ready to go. We're a quarter away. Mosaic Stadium in Regina. Henry Burris and the Calgary Stampeders, the defending Grey Cup champions. Little rematch with the Rough Riders of that game that settled first place and home field advantage in the West coming up after this one. For all intents and purposes, this one is over. Mullen is jolted by Kerry Carter.
The intensity of the Montreal Alouettes at this stage of the football game. It's Kerry Carter, their starting fullback, flying down on special teams. A monster hit on Ryan Grice-Mullen. And that to me is just symbolic of the Alouettes this season. There is no letting up in this team.
Again, something that they may have been guilty of in years past, seasons past. Not this year. Printer's in trouble again. Escapes, but only for a moment. And look who's on top of him. J.P. Bakaziak.
Former Hamilton Tiger Cat. Made his way to Montreal this season. With all the injuries that the Alouettes are dealing with to their Canadian talent pool. Guy getting a chance to play in that D-line rotation here.
All the success and the comeback story. So sweet for Casey Printers last week in Hamilton. Dragged down by Chip Cox with one hand. And once again, it will be third down. Just has not materialized this week for Casey Printers.
And it all has to do with the way this football game started. You know, when you play the Montreal Alouettes, you have to be nearly perfect because it's a lock that they will be.
Larry Taylor near his 40, dropped it, fumbled the football. No yards call, however, so moot point. Anthony Calvillo will bring his offense on the field. 48-18 the score. The East Final in Montreal.
Anthony Calvillo has already tied a CFL playoff record with 5 touchdown passes in this football game. Jamel Richardson, Kerry Watkins, Richardson again, Brian Bratton getting in on the act, and Richardson adding a third. Now Calvillo and the Owls offense on the field again. AC with an opportunity to stand alone in the record books.
No yards call brings the ball to midfield. Montreal will also be very content to let this clock run. The more it runs, the less chance of getting hurt. Anthony Calvillo having a banner day. Let's go down to John Liu once again.
Banner day indeed, Rod, and Calvillo says that his energy level and mental acuity has been sharper than it's ever been in his career, and a big part of that is because of his change in diet, and this is a big part of it itself. This is called quinoa. It's a Bolivian grain that is very high in fiber and protein, more so than standard carbohydrates like rice and pasta, and along with the quinoa, Calvillo's been eating sweet potatoes and salad with extra olive oil to make himself feel full. And he says that as recently as last year, he would only eat half a sandwich and a bowl of cereal. So he was running on empty in most games, but now he's got a full tank, guys.
Yeah, he says it helps with his clarity. I don't know about you, Dwayne Ford. I want to get me some of that Bolivian rice.
Does that come in steak flavor?
Yeah, there you are. Well, whatever works, works. And AC has really, not that he was never committed to it before. Think about it. This is a guy who came into the CFL with very little success back in 1994. Part of the Las Vegas Posse at the time, then the Hamilton Tiger Cats. He went through what Casey Printers went through as a Tiger Cat in his 2 years when he was in Hamilton. A lot of failure. And now, arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks who's ever played the game in Canada.
I don't think it's arguably. There's no doubt about it.
And again at 37, he gets the ball away so quickly and doesn't take a lot of hits. Plays a couple more years. He's number 2 on most of the all-time lists. Damon Allen kind of leads the way in a lot of those. His name may be on top of that list when he is said and done on so many of those categories.
Yeah, he's got every opportunity to do that. Playing here with the Montreal Alouettes, as you said, not just a good football team, but a system that allows him to get rid of the ball quickly.
Throwing again. Hawkins. And Anthony Calvillo will take these Montreal Alouettes to another Grey Cup game. And this time, this team committed.
Keep an eye on Hawkins' right ankle here on the tackle as Ricky Foley falls on his leg.
Oh, yeah.
Not a doctor, but...
No, that's a frightening hit.
Andrew Hawkins isn't going to be playing in the Grey Cup.
And here is Adrian McPherson behind center. Short yardage plunge.
If I'm Mark Trestman right now, I'm waving to Adrian McPherson to stay in there.
But he's not. Calvillo will come out again. But you have to think it's a short leash. Trestman did what Anthony Calvillo didn't think he would do late in the season, and that's sit him out for a ball game against the Toronto Argonauts. But Trestman said, hey, we don't have AC. We're not going to the Grey Cup.
Well, that's exactly it. It'll be interesting to see it as they get to the end of this drive, if it's Calvillo's last.
And hands it off. Coburn slashing away. We had a chance to chat with Brian Chu. He also coincidentally came to Montreal the same time with Anthony Calvillo and also Ben Cahoon. They've all been connected. We asked him, you know, how does this team rank with so many of the other Alouette teams he's played on?
And Brian Chu suggested this is the best Alouette team they've had in this would-be dynasty. Combination of chemistry, talent, focus.
Doesn't look like Calvillo is going to be going after that record, just judging by the fact they're handing the ball off to 5.5 to go. Chu also said that this Alouette team was getting a little cranky.
Well, a 2-week break between games and practicing only against each other will do that to you. Football players hate practice and live for game day. So as much as the bye week for finishing in first place is seen as a reward, in some ways it's a bit of a punishment. The Alouettes had last weekend, while the East Final or East semifinal was going on, 2 very training camp-like practices, very physical, full pads.
There's something that doesn't happen very often. A Damon Duvall miss. It won't matter. Just put the attendance up here, 53,792 in Olympic Stadium. They all came with full voice today. And a lot of them, great majority, I would say 99% of them Alouette fans, will watch their team in another Grey Cup next week. Who will they play? Will it be the Saskatchewan Roughriders? Or will it be a rematch with the Calgary Stampeders, ironically in Calgary, should that happen, next week? Riders and Stamps next in the West Final. It has been a very pedestrian day for the BC Lions. Only a couple of sparks. The Ryan Grice-Mullen return seemed to infuse some energy, but quickly sapped away by the Alouettes.
That's it. You have to give a lot of the credit to the Montreal Alouettes, because every time BC showed signs of life, showed signs of getting back into this football game, Montreal responded by stuffing the ball down their throats.
Just over 4 minutes to go. And another pickoff. Chip Cox, and he will take it to the end zone. Why not? Chip Cox has been all around the football today. They've had a blocked kick return for a touchdown. They've had an interception returned. It looks like there might be a challenge here. BC Lions saying that Chip Cox was down. There's Arsenault, or that Arsenault maybe was down. It's not even an interception, it's actually a fumble return.
If I was the BC Lions at this point, I think I'd be throwing in the towel instead of the challenge flag.
It is exactly that. It's a strip. Chip Cox with 5 forced fumbles in the regular season. Leading tackler.
The ruling on the field is down with contact, BC ball.
So Emmanuel Arsenault was down. Bud Steen emphatic with that call. So take away those points that were put on the board inadvertently. It's nice to see Casey Printers back in the Canadian Football League.
Montreal is challenging the ruling on the field. We will review the play.
Perhaps Chip Cox has a bonus playoff touchdown in his contract.
I don't think this one's getting through.
Ruling on the field stands. BC first down.
Chip Cox denied a touchdown. Under 4 minutes now to go. It's a team that went through a lot of quarterbacks this year, Mr. Ford.
5 different ones. Saw reasonable action for the BC Lions over the course of this season. Injuries to the veterans, Buck Pierce and Jarius Jackson.
Those DBs still bringing it. Marcus Stell on the corner. 3.5 to go.
The Montreal Alouettes are relentless, like playing against 42 pit bulls.
The day it has been. Anthony Calvillo's done for the day. Wisely, Adrian McPherson will come in. Former Alouette Ian Smart and an exasperated Casey Printers.
Sends Casey Printers in the role of Bruno Durand. No mas.
You got it. Just over 3 minutes to go, and Adrian McPherson gets some time. Done very well in the glimpses we have seen from him this year. Including the final game of the season. Colburn romps right side. On the field, and Anthony Calvillo and the Montreal Alouettes will head to their 7th Grey Cup game in the last decade. This one hasn't even been close. Colburn again, and I guess the danger here too, and a first down, is you may want to consider shutting Avon Colburn down. And you know, look at Andrew Hawkins on an innocuous little run. You lose an Avon Colburn before the Grey Cup game, it can also have debilitating effects.
It sure can. This is next to Calvillo, arguably the second most critical guy to their offense. Mark Trestman taking your advice.
Chance for some of the subs to play now, including Darren Diedrich. A rare smile from Mark Trestman. Boy, you talk about a workman-like coach. Classy guy, highly intelligent, former quarterback, has been around the NFL. Do you think there is substance to the NFL rumors with the Buffalo Bills?
They'd be crazy not to be interested in someone like Mark Trestman.
Also has his law degree. Diedrich again. And remember when we did that first game last year, and there were so many critics, vultures, circling around Mark Trestman's head, wondering if he could be a head coach in the Canadian Football League.
And the thing that has allowed Mark Trestman to be successful is his personality, his attitude. He's a student of the game, and he didn't come in thinking he knew everything. He's coming in trying to learn with every play in every game. He's been a quick study, that's for sure.
And with class, they just run the football and will hand it back to the BC Lions, not wanting to run the score up anymore. He also brought a great sense of discipline to the Montreal Alouettes. Remember how they lined up that first night on the sideline for the national anthem?
Yeah, it stood out to us, a team that had been in some disarray prior to that. Every player on the sidelines, helmets under their left arms, everyone standing on a hash mark.
Travis Lulay into the game is swarmed and brought down.
New quarterback, same result.
A year ago in the Eastern Final, another crossover. Edmonton came into Olympic Stadium, put a scare in Mark Trestman's team. Almost pulled it off. Almost made it an all-Western Grey Cup. Thanks to Larry Taylor's 2 returns for touchdowns, the Alouettes advanced. Boulay takes off. They didn't need Larry Taylor today. They had Anthony Calvillo, and they had their ball-hawking defense.
Today's turning point came early. Already having given up 7 points off turnovers. Casey Printer scrambles, throws an interception to Billy Parker. That led to Kerry Watkins' touchdown, the second touchdown pass of the game for Anthony Calvillo. It's been all Alouettes since.
Turning point brought to you by Wendy's Baconator, the official hamburger of the CFL. Last minute now. John Bowman hurdles Lulay, and guess who has the football? It is John Bowman, and it is a touchdown. Did you see the athleticism on that play from John Bowman? An encore for the Alouettes.
Just saw Anthony Calvillo shake his head. I don't think even he can believe how every break, every bounce has gone the Alouettes' way today.
He's also probably saying, can you save some of this for next week?
No doubt. Bowman had an early shot at Lulay on the play. By hustling to try and get back into the play, he's rewarded with the football.
Those guys, when they get it in the end zone, they haven't been there very often. They don't know what to do. And Mark, you got your shower. They can let loose and celebrate for a day or two and back to work. The Montreal Alouettes have absolutely demolished the BC Lions today. Is kicked out of bounds. 51 seconds left. What a year for the Montreal Alouettes. 9-0 at home coming in. Now 10-0 in Montreal. But you know what? It won't mean a thing if they don't get it next week. It really won't to so many of these guys.
Well, the ring is the thing.
Western Final coming up. Chris Cuthbert, Glenn Suter, our crew in Regina. General Manager Jim Pop, the architect. Jim Pop, never one to be satisfied, like an Anthony Calvillo. How about some of the additions? How about some of the moves they made, particularly bringing in a couple of fresh-faced DBs to Montreal this year?
Yeah, and we've talked frequently throughout the year about the fact that defensive halfback is the toughest position for a first-year American player to play in the CFL. The Montreal Alouettes went out and lined up with 2 of them all season long. Gerald Brown and Billy Parker. The performance of those 2 guys, signed by Jim Pop, has been key in some of the things they've been allowed to do in their defensive scheme this year.
Lulay throws and knocked away again. And there, just on cue, is Billy Parker. This is a football junkie. 24/7 Jim Pop thinks about what he will do to make his team better.
Absolutely, one of the best in the business. Well, and people will point to the Montreal Alouettes of this era and the lack of Grey Cup championships to this point. But to be a contender year in and year out is impressive in itself.
Paris Jackson with the catch, 34 seconds to go. And again, we've watched them through the last few years. This, as Brian Chu has said, might be the best team. There are virtually no weak links to this team right now.
They really aren't. The Alouettes aren't invincible, but they're sure good.
Boulay again. Ian Smart. And for the BC Lions, look ahead to 2010. An always tough West Division. I'm sure change is forthcoming. Baron Miles, one of Anthony Calvillo's best buddies. This one has to sting. Play will be the last one. There's a penalty marker on the field.
Major foul, roughing the passer. Montreal, number 40, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Anthony Calvillo said it before the game. He says it before every game to his team. We are the beasts.
They used to talk about being the beasts of the East. Now they want to take it one step further. Calvillo has been consistent in saying it all year. Let's show everyone we're the beasts of the CFL. Well, AC, you'll get your chance next Sunday.
Complete and utter domination today. The Montreal Alouettes. There is a penalty marker down. And there are some photographers on the field. Declined. It's over. It was over basically at halftime. The Montreal Alouettes are going back to the Grey Cup. And this team, the way it has rolled, might be their best bet to bring it home.
(15-3) regular season. Thoroughly dominating performance here in the East Final. But it won't be complete without a win in the big game next week.
Mark Trestman talks about it, how this team was assembled to do it one day, one game at a time. There's one day left. Next Sunday in Calgary. Anthony Calvillo ties a CFL record for the playoffs. 5 touchdown passes. Here's John Liu with AC.
Well, Anthony, you guys were the best team in the regular season. How loud a statement is this heading into your second straight Grey Cup?
Well, we know what type of team we're capable of being. We proved that all year long. We did it today, and we need to do it next week against whoever it's going to be. But we're playing very hard and very focused, and we feel that we should be able to compete with anybody and beat anybody.
Your 5 touchdown passes today ties a CFL playoff record. What does that say about the way you were operating the offense tonight?
Well, we had some opportunities to get the ball downfield. A broken play helped us as well, but overall, the O-line did a great job of protecting, and the receivers came up with some huge catches today.
What were they doing to try to keep the best sack defense in the league at bay for you today?
What they've been doing all year long, protecting the quarterback. That's their job.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
No problem. Thank you.
5 touchdown passes, 3 touchdowns from Jamel Richardson. The Alouettes are going to their 7th Grey Cup game since the year 2000. They're on their way to Calgary. Record-setting day for the Montreal Alouettes. Anthony Calvillo and the team, 56 points. Most points in a CFL playoff game since 1996. 3rd most overall. The 56 points they put on the board. And again, completely rolling over the BC Lions, 56-18. Players are getting ready to accept the Eastern Division trophy. Let's go down to the Olympic Stadium field now and join David Arsenault.
Mesdames et messieurs, j'attire votre attention vers la zone des buts, où vous verrez dans quelques instants M. Michael Copeland de la Ligue canadienne de football effectuer la présentation du trophée des champions de la division Est aux Alouettes de Montréal. Fans, please direct your attention to center field where CFL's Chief Operating Officer Michael Copeland of the Canadian Football League will present the Eastern Division final trophy to les Alouettes de Montréal. Mr. Copeland.
On behalf of the Canadian Football League and our Board of Governors, il me fait plaisir de présenter the 2009 East Division Championship Trophy to les Alouettes de Montréal. Bonne chance à la Coupe Grey.
It may be a warm-up to hoisting something a little more significant next week. What has been a good season, a very good season, could become a great season. One for the ages next week if the Alouettes can win the Grey Cup. Obviously no jinx to hoisting up that Eastern Division trophy. You sometimes see in hockey, guys don't touch it. Chris Leak at center field on his knees.
Taking in the moment.
Taking it in, the 3rd string quarterback. And again, this celebration won't last long. Tonight, and back to work.
That's it. Typical Mark Trestman fashion. He'll probably be in early in the morning looking at the film. And then on to the next opponent. Soon to be determined.
Question on everybody's mind this season is how do you beat the Montreal Alouettes? You said it, they're not invincible, they can be beat. But it takes a full team effort. John Liu again with the guy who had the hat trick today.
Hat trick indeed, 3 touchdowns today. What is it, Jamel, about Thanksgiving Day or close to Thanksgiving Day, Thanksgiving in America being on Thursday coming up?
Right. Hey, you know, the lights was on and it's a big game. We got a date on the 22nd. We were just trying to get there.
Anthony passed for a record-tying 5 touchdowns in CFL playoff game today. Was he about as sharp today as he was at any point this year in your view?
Oh, he was excellent out there. You know, getting the ball to different receivers out there. And, you know, we was doing that all practice and we just put it on film. So, you know, I'm glad to be on his team.
You guys were coming off a week of inactivity. Did you have an idea of just how sharp you were going to be?
Oh, yes. You know, we've been out of practice, but we ain't been playing a game for 2 weeks, and, you know, we was like caged animals, and we wanted to get out here and put it all on the field.
Hey, thanks, Jamel. Let's send it back to Ron.
Thank you.
Beasts of the East looking to become best in the CFL. A week away from the Grey Cup. Their biggest win of 2009. 56-18 in the East Final.
What? Rest. We got to get our rest. We have to do that. So here it is in 3 quick bullet points. Congratulations on this win. You envisioned it. You went to work. and it didn't have to be close, did it?
No, sir.
And it did not have to be close. We played a great opponent. Let's give them their respect the rest of the day. Take some time in the next 24 hours to appreciate what you've done up to this point. You need to do that. Take the time to do that, but you need to get off your feet and you need to get rest. Fair enough? Fair enough. Okay, last thing. I want to give a game ball out. And I want to give it out to one person. That one person is responsible for giving each and every one of us the opportunity to be an Alouette. And that's Jim Pop.
Yeah!
Oh, sorry.
10 seconds.
Let me just say, my first game ball I've ever been given. This is awesome. But two, you know, this is a tremendous team, guys. You're a great team. And, you know, we got to finish it. I mean, there's one thing. Enjoy the moment. It never gets old. So we're going to go have a good time. Let's finish it.
Congratulations to Jim Pop, to Mark Trestman, Robert Wettenhall, the owner of the Montreal Alouettes. One more game, the Grey Cup next week.